If I'm honest, and I think we should focus our attention towards the Tank fight. You know, I think that's the biggest fight in American boxing.
I hope one day seeing Shakur against Tank.
Okay, yeah, you and Canelo Alvarez were not on the same page last year. Now you.
Floyd Sheffield's withdrawal of the lightweight title challenger has significantly hurt Shakur Stevenson's World Boxing Council lightweight championship defense. According to reports, Floyd Sheffield will not be competing against the WBC title holder. On Saturday, following his absence from Tuesday's grand entrances in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and a strange assertion made by his father, a trainer, Stevenson's co-manager responded right away. His initial plans were first published by Ring Magazine.
He's a good young fighter, hungry fighter, but I hope he still take the fight. I mean, I'm kind of worried because he's not here. I was kind of excited to see him.
Do you have a message for him?
Shakur Stevenson faces a crucial decision in finding a suitable replacement opponent. He cannot afford to choose an unknown fighter, as a victory over such an opponent would do little to enhance his reputation. Additionally, it would deprive him of the opportunity to test himself against top-tier competition. However, selecting a highly skilled opponent presents a different risk. Shakur may not have had adequate preparation, making it a delicate balance. This decision is particularly important as Shakur aims to secure the biggest fights of his career. He has been heavily linked to a potential unification bout with Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Meanwhile, Davis is set to defend his WBA lightweight title against Lamont Roach Jr. on March 1st. Davis has already stated that he plans to retire this year, aiming to fight 3 more times before stepping away. Given this timeline, he will be looking for the most lucrative and high-profile matchups. If Shakur hopes to land a fight with Davis, he must ensure his next opponent is both credible and challenging, allowing him to prove himself worthy of the opportunity. The next move he makes could be decisive for his career trajectory.
Fighters, and you know, like I said, Saturday first, and then we'll go from there.
Just one on that, on the Tank fight. Are you confident that one can be delivered? Because I know
Fight against Shakur Stevenson is certainly a major option for Gervonta "Tank" Davis, even though Stevenson's technical boxing style may not have the broad appeal of a crossover star. Promoter Eddie Hearn remains confident that this fight can be made, provided all parties have realistic expectations. However, much depends on whether Stevenson successfully navigates his next fight, as uncertainty looms over his replacement opponent. If everyone involved approaches negotiations sensibly, what other fights could be on the table for Davis? He has a solid matchup next, defending his WBA lightweight title against Lamont Roach Jr. on March 1st. However, Davis will be looking for bigger opportunities, as he has already expressed his desire to retire this year after 3 more fights. That means he will prioritize the most lucrative and high-profile opponents. According to Hearn, the biggest fight available for both Davis and Stevenson is against each other. The 27-year-old Stevenson is actively pursuing a showdown with Davis, but must first focus on defending his WBC lightweight title. His next fight takes place in Riyadh on Saturday as part of the undercard for the highly anticipated rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol.
He's a super featherweight that Tank will want to be in big fights. He'll want to make big money, and I think the biggest fight out there.
Stevenson is certain that a long-awaited unification fight between the two will occur, despite Davis's announcement that he will retire from boxing at the end of the year. It will happen, the man from Newark continued. I hope Tank keeps his promise and gets into the battle, since he stated that I was on his list. As fans anxiously anticipated Tank's next move following the Roach fight, the possibility of his return became more serious when a match against Lamont Roach Jr. was scheduled for March 1st at the storied Barclays Center in New York. A number of competitors have lined up to challenge the vanquished champion.
Davis, Shakur Stevenson.
I want him, and I send message now from you to Heyman.
Head of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority is eager to bring Gervonta "Tank" Davis into their boxing fold to help stage some of the sport's biggest fights. Recently, ESPN's Mike Coppinger sat down with
Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson.
I want him, and I send message now from you to Heyman.
Which was later shared by The Ring magazine on Instagram.
I don't need to like you to talk with you.
But you appreciate Gervonta Davis's talent, it seems.
As a fighter, he's a great fighter, of course.
Schick expressed his desire to organize a future showdown between Davis and Shakur Stevenson. "I hope one day to see Shakur against Tank," he stated. His comments came as a surprise to Coppinger, given Schick's previously strained relationship with Davis. Tension between the two dates back to the Ring magazine awards event in London last month. Davis was notably absent and later went on an online tirade about not being invited to the gala. Despite this history, Schick's interest in working with Davis signals a potential shift. If Saudi Arabia gets involved, it could significantly boost the chances of making the highly anticipated Stevenson versus Davis fight a reality.
We'll be watching somewhere.
Don't get butterflies and pull out the fight, Floyd. I know it's a hard time. I know you're dealing with a lot, but just show up.
You've been tweeting about beating on him. You've been tweeting about vintage.
Given their history, Saudi Arabia's Alalshikh extending an invitation to Gervonta "Tank" Davis came as a bit of a surprise. ESPN's Mike Coppinger took the opportunity to question him about it, asking, "Last year you and Canelo Alvarez were not on the same page, and now you're inviting Gervonta Davis. Why?" Schick's response was measured. "I don't take anything personally. I am a professional. I don't need to like you to talk with you," he stated, further surprising Coppinger. Pressing further, Coppinger asked, "But you appreciate Gervonta Davis's talents, it seems." Schick, who also owns The Ring magazine, calmly replied, "He is a great fighter, of course, no doubt about it, but we need to see him in big fights more and more." Schick's stance highlights a sentiment shared by many in the boxing world. While Davis is an elite fighter with an impressive 30-0 record and knockout power, he has yet to consistently face truly elite opposition. The Saudi royal appears to be setting personal differences aside for the good of the sport, but he isn't afraid to voice what fans and analysts have been asking. When will Davis step up to face a true challenge? Perhaps the biggest fight in the world, one that sees Davis jump divisions or face another high-profile opponent, will finally push him to his full potential. If that happens, Tank's fans may finally see him tested at the highest level before his planned retirement.
The main focus in training camp, how was your sparring and everything, preparing for such a slick boxer like Shakur?
It's interesting to see that a leak is not the only one advocating for a boxing legend to face Davis Stevenson. While Davis has continued to be a big issue in the boxing world, Mike Tyson has long expressed his support for the fight and picked his choice. Much attention has been drawn to Shakur Stevenson's impending fight on February 22nd against an opponent he will shortly identify. But Stevenson isn't only trying to defend the High-Assault Boxing Council lightweight belt. These are based on the larger prize, a Gervonta Davis. During the Ring magazine award ceremony for Gagalanlo, London, in a subsequent...
Who will win out of Shakur and Gervonta?
Gervonta Davis?
Yeah.
I like to go with Tank. Everyone's gonna go with Tank, It would be a very interesting fight. Shakur takes a good shot, though. He's a specialist. That's why some fights that he doesn't look good in, because he's so superior.
Dev Sonny from Queensbury PR Promotions. Shakur Stevenson had audaciously called their possible bout the biggest fight in the world. However, Stevenson was frustrated by Davis's conflicting messages regarding a fight.
the main focus in training camp, I mean, how was your sparring and everything preparing for such a slick boxer like Shakur?
Shakur asked whether Davis really wanted the fight, even though he believed it was the biggest fight in boxing right now. He admitted, he says he's going to come get me, and I am on his list. And then he's like, what has Shakur done for boxing? Who is he? He seems very bipolar, Eve, a few months ago, while speaking to Mace Cameron Giles on their podcast. Davis's aggressive fighting style would be the ideal test for Stevenson and bring out the best in him. Tyson, that's a good fight. I'd go with Tank. Everyone's going to pick Tank, but it would be very interesting, said Mike Tyson when asked about a potential showdown between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. However, Tyson didn't dismiss Shakur's skills. Speaking on the same podcast, he acknowledged, Shakur takes a good shot. He's a specialist. That's why some fights don't look exciting. He's so superior, it can be boring. But he knows what he's doing. To bring out the best in Shakur, you have to pressure him like Tank would. Then we'll see a great fight, with Saudi Arabia's Alalshikh pushing for the matchup and Tyson voicing his support. The demand for this fight is growing. Now, all eyes are on Davis to see if he will step up. If the fight happens, it could be the defining moment that showcases both fighters at their very best. Interview as the only boxer on the main section of the card to skip the festivities, the 22-year-old Schofield, who was a heavy underdog to 3. Division titleist Stevenson in the last crescendo card at Kingdom Arena.